はい、本日は貴重な機会ありがとうございます。ティーチングプロの石井良介です。
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
今日は、2025年の新しいスコッティ・キャメロンのパターンのプロダクトについて、いろいろと教えてください。
Okay. So new for 2025, we have a new line of putters called Studio Style. And we really wanted to focus on the sound and feel of these new putters to get a nice, softer, quieter response to help players judge distance better. Yeah, players really use the sound of impact to help them judge distance. And so we really wanted to design in these new putters to have the classic Scotty Cameron crispness of impact, but a little softer sound. And we did this by looking at what different materials we could use to get that softer sound in the face. And so we knew we wanted to use an insert to be able to change the material, and then looked at all different materials. We looked at stainless steel, beryllium, aluminum, and decided on carbon steel, which is a classic Scotty Cameron material, to get that softer sound. It really helped. Carbon steel is a material that really helps to absorb vibration of impact, and we knew that was going to give it a little softer sound. But in addition to that, we knew by reducing the surface area on the insert that the ball is going to see will also help lower the sound. So we came up with a unique pattern to remove just about 50% of that surface area that the ball is seeing to be able to get an even quieter sound. We wanted to balance that removal of sound with the crispness of metal to get the best combination of both a soft feel but a crisp sound.
でもツアープレイヤーはやっぱりこうフィール、音とかをすごい重要視するんですか？
Yeah, very much so. So I think that it depends on the tour player what sound he wants to hear that's comfortable to him, that helps him judge the distance. And so we really work hard with players to dial in the sound of the impact to what he is looking for.
僕の記憶だと、昔のスコット・キャメロンのパターってカーボンスチールを使っていて、その時のカーボンスチールとは違うのか、またはそのステンレスにカーボンスチールのインサートをすることによってどんなメリットが増えるんですか？
I think you get the benefits of both the robustness of the stainless steel material with the sound and feel of the carbon. So one of the issues with carbon steel is it's very hard to take care of a carbon steel putter. You have to be very on top of making sure that you're controlling the rust, you're keeping a head cover on, whereas stainless was very easy for golfers to care for because of the benefits of not rusting. Yeah, that's why Scotty moved away from carbon steel putters into stainless originally, because of the ease of care. But we looked to Tour and some of their feedback to say some of the benefits of the sound of that carbon steel. You know, Jordan Spieth is one that still uses a carbon steel putter, loves the sound and feel of that. So we wanted to say, how can we bring that into our modern putters that are out of stainless, and doing an insert out of carbon steel really gives us the best of both worlds, the ease of care of the stainless, but the sound and feel of a carbon steel putter.
今回のフェース面がすごい特徴的なんですけど、フェース面っていうのはどういう効果があるんですか？
Yeah, the benefits of the Studio carbon steel insert is, number one, the material. So we found that the ability of carbon steel to absorb energy from impact is very good. So it'll be able to really damp out those vibrations, which those vibrations help to produce the sound that you're hearing. So by having better damping properties, you're going to get a softer sound. And then we coupled that with our chain link milling technology that's on there. That really helps to reduce the amount of surface area that the golf ball is going to see at impact to reduce the sound. And the chain link, the design of that also helps to create a very consistent pattern across the face. And you really want that for golfers that may not hit the same spot every time, to make sure that that sound is consistent when you're hitting it across the face.
ブレードのパターが今回10種類新しく登場しますけれど、今までのモデルと比べて、多分パッと見よく見なければ変更点とか気づかないところも多いと思うんですけれど、特にニューポート2とかはだいぶデザインが変わったっていう話ですけれど、ちょっと教えてもらっていいですか。
Yeah, the Newport 2 specifically, we made a lot of changes based on feedback from tour. And so we've had great success with our current Newport 2. One of the things that Scotty told me as we started out, he says, we can make some changes, but let's not mess it up. And so we knew by getting feedback from the best players in the world that there was no way we could screw it up. And one of the aspects is that we have players that have used many different Newport 2s over the years. And so they look back at some features of some of the older models, and we brought them into this. And so one of which is a little deeper face. When Scotty went to the Special Select and Super Select design, he did make that face a little shallower. We brought that back to make it a little taller. We made the top line a little thicker. Some players that like the look of that thicker top line. It also helped us when we put this insert in to stiffen up that top line to get the feel where we wanted it. And also historically, Newport 2 style putters, the toe section here has always been a little longer than the heel to compensate for the weight of the hosel so you can get the center of gravity in the center of that pocket. And so when Scotty started to thin up the top line, make this a little shorter, the blade got longer as a result, which caused this toe section to get a little longer to make sure that the center of gravity was balanced. And so one of the things we want to do is to make these a little more proportional, make the toe a little shorter, and bring the overall length of the putter a little shorter to help make the balance look better to the eyes of some of those tour players, still keeping the center of gravity in the center of the pocket. And so those are the main changes we've made to this, and I think they're very good and have had very good response from the tour players we've shown.
前作のニューポート2だとちょっとフェースが開いて右に行くっていう傾向があったんですけど、今作のニューポート2は打ってみたらすごい使いやすくて、パッと見た瞬間にあれ短いなと思ったのが感覚が合っててよかったです。オールクリア。
Yeah, all clear. Yeah, so those are the main changes to the Newport 2. The Newport stayed very similar to where the older Newport was. We haven't really gotten a lot of that feedback on that design, and that, if anything, this is getting a little back towards some of the features of the Newport. Still, this is a little longer than the Newport. The Newport is a little shorter than a Newport 2. A little more rounded features, where this is a little more squared off.
アマチュアゴルファーがニューポートとニューポート2選ぶときにはどういうことを気をつけて、またどっちの方が自分に合うかっていうそのポイントはどこですか？
I think if the amateur player is one that really loves the feel of a blade, but needs some help with alignment, I think the Newport 2 is a great putter for them because it really does have very square features. These corners are a little sharper. It's really going to help those golfers that need a little more help with alignment. If a golfer is more of a feel type putter, wants rounded features, likes those rounded features, doesn't really need the help there, a Newport is a much better putter for them because it's got just softer features to it.
今回も、プラスというモデルがあって、後ろ側にワイドなソールになってますけれど、それの、特徴というか目的はどういったことが目的なんですか？
Yeah, so the Plus models on the whole are going to be a little wider than the standard. So a little bit wider this way. It's going to help them get a little longer sight line, help them align a little better. Plus the increased size, and we've taken weight out of the middle. It'll help make this one a little more forgiving than this. So if they need a little bigger putter to look at, feel more confident, a little longer sight line, and a little more forgiving, the Plus model is great for them.
そうしたら今度はカタリナのようなそのネックの違いなんかも教えてほしいんですけれど、クランクネックとこのベントネックを選ぶときにはそのどういったプレイヤーがどちらに適しているっていうふうにお考えですか？
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with if you look at the balance of these. Do you have and if you look at then a 2.5 plus. You'll see how the toe is, this is like this is like this, so you get more toe drop, but as well you get different hand heights. If you kind of line these up, you line up the lines here. This shaft is going to be here. This one's going to be a little further back. This one's going to be a little further back there.
こうしてみると全然シャフトの位置が違うんですね。
And so basically, if you like to have your eyes inside the ball, this is a good one. If you like to have your eyes more over the ball, this is going to help. And also, if you want to have your eyes in the same position, this one will get your hands a little higher than this one. And so it all depends on your setup, what makes your setup very comfortable. What gets your hand positioned the right way. That's going to help you keep that putter on plane consistently.
なかなか多くのアマチュアはそこまで考えないで単純にこう打ってフィールが良かったりとか、あとこれかっこいいからって言って選んでしまうと思うんだけど、構え方によってその、ラインナップを分けているってことなんですね。
Yeah, the setup is very important to get the golfer in a proper setup position and then get a putter that fits that setup so that they are sure to kind of keep that putter on plane and consistent. It also is important to what the golfer feels in his hands. And so the amount of toe hang will give a certain center of gravity offset from that shaft axis. So they'll be able to feel the face more. So on a putter like this, that offset will be harder to rotate, so it'll help it be more stable and maybe match up to what he wants to feel, so he knows where that face is throughout his stroke. And so a golfer that has more arc, depending on his setup, he needs to keep that face square to the arc. And so having something that has a little more toe drop they'll be able to feel where that face is more than say a putter like this. So if he has a lot of arc with a putter like this, he may have a hard time feeling where that face is. So really matching up that to the arc so that it has the most natural stroke, the most simple, consistent stroke.
新しいスタデュースタイルで、特徴的なモデルとして、スクエアバックとファストバックがまたありますけれど、そちらについても教えてもらっていいですか？
Those are two designs that we really wanted to completely revamp and come up with something new, because those are probably the largest footprint models that are in our previous Super Select line. So going into the Studio Style line, we wanted to redesign them. So we really wanted to bring some Mallet characteristics into this line. So one thing we want to do is to make the footprints of those models a little larger. And so this is the square back. And so the footprint is larger. And so in order to make it larger, we needed to remove weight. And so that's why it has the peekaboo hole in it, in order to create a ring weighting to increase the forgiveness. And then we also needed to remove, that wasn't enough to remove all the weight we needed. And so we replaced these toe and heel sections with aluminum, as well as the middle of the sole with aluminum to take weight out. And so by doing that as well, instead of making these silver to match the head, we decided to make it a contrasting black to really highlight this front blade and this back blade. And a lot of times golfers, in mallets, they'll sometimes use lines going this way to align to their target, but golfers also use the leading edge or these perpendicular features to also align to their target. And so by highlighting this blade and this blade, it gives a lot of points for that golfer to align this perpendicular to their path. And also by having this blade in the back, we really believe that in order to putt your best, you need to have this putter square to your target through the impact, almost at a foot 6 inches before and 6 inches after. So this really helps the golfer visualize keeping this back blade square all the way through impact to make sure your start lines are consistent. And so we also have a lot of technology packed into these, and so we wanted to have options for golfers that want, the more square kind of Newport 2 look, but also one that's a little more rounded to bring those kind of rounded mallet features into the design, into the line as well, while still having the still front blade, back blade type characteristics.
実際にこのブレードタイプでここだけ見てるとなんかブレードですよね。
Yeah, but then you also have the advantage of having a mid-bend, like a mallet type look, to have something a little more face balance, and then you have a square back 2 with a plumbing neck if you want to have the true look of a Newport 2 with that neck. And then fast back, same sort of mid-bend shaft setup, and then we also have a fast back 1.5 with a jet neck if you want a little more toe hang, to have the same features we talked about here in terms of hand height and eye position you can have throughout this line, this part of the line as well.
きっとこの動画を見ているアマチュアのゴルファーはプロゴルファーに支給されているものと実際販売しているものが同じなのか違うものなのかっていうのを知りたいと思うんですけれど、これはプロが使っているものと変わらないんですか？
The tour players will be using these same designs. Of course, we learn a lot working with tour players, and so we are constantly modifying them to fit their needs that they have out there. They have very specific needs, and so these are basically our starting point with these, and we'll learn a lot customizing these putters for tour players that will then make their way into new products in the future.
パターをデザインをされるお仕事をする中でそのパッティングで一番大事なことどんなことをアマチュアゴルファーは意識をしてパターをしたらいいと思いますか？
I think a lot of things that the amateur golfer needs to work on is things that Paul works on with tour players that come in here. It's getting the right setup, a very stable setup, a proper setup to make sure that they stay on plane with their putting, and then getting a putter that matches that setup. And so that's one of the most important things for them, is to make sure they get properly fitted for a putter. And the other thing that's very important for amateur golfers is to make sure that they can get a putter that sets up square to them, that they can deliver square to their target line, because where that face is pointing is very important in the start line of the putts. And so we spend a lot of times designing different shapes to fit those different golfers' eye to get one that helps them to set up square. And then they need to practice. Practice a lot.
そうね。
Getting a design that they're comfortable and they like looking at is very important to having that confidence. And so that's why we spend so much time designing all the features of these to make sure that when they look at these putters, they have a feeling of comfort and confidence. They know what it's aimed where it needs to be aimed, and they can take a confident stroke, and that will help them to have good distance control.
この中からアマチュアゴルファーは自分に合うものを1個選んだらいいよねってことですね。
Oh yes. Yes, we try to have a good variety in all of our lines, in our Phantom line and in our Studio Style line, so that there is definitely a design that's going to fit their eye, fit their stroke, to make them putt their best.
それが全部ツアーのクオリティで。
Yes, of course, always tour level quality, yes.